I'm ChosenArchitect, and this is All the Mods 10 Aeronautics. Over the last few episodes, I've set up a mob spawner, got ourselves some storage set up, and slowly started developing the area. I technically have this massive area here to cover, as ultimately I have a plan of building this sort of circular or sort of rounded out docking area where we can have some ships that we can start to build. I'd love to use these ships as sort of like mod hubs. But to do this, we have to get through the basics. And speaking of basics, upgrading my gear is definitely on my to-do list. And so far, we've built ourselves a mob farm, which has started to help do this. See, these apothic invaders start to spawn in every now and then based on your world tier, and I have made it all the way up to Ascent level, and then all I have to do is take on a Wither in order to get it even further up to Summit. And the higher tier you get it, the better gear you start to get, and I had been salvaging all of my gear up to this point, but I just removed the node so I can start to generate some other gear, and we're getting diamond gear now, which is very nice. And I've actually found some really good gear from just letting this stuff sort of generate in. So for example, this really nice shovel that has some bonus mining speed, also a couple of diamond pickaxes. One of them has diamond effectiveness against all blocks. This is an incredibly powerful multi-tool. But also we just got a general very quick pick. This has 45% mining speed increase on it. On top of that, I found a really nice helmet with some nice armor and some oxygen, so that way we can breathe a little bit longer underwater. Pair of pants that have mana regen 4 on them. I believe that's 4. And also a really nice diamond chest piece that has some nice armor toughness and 30% armor overall. Very, very powerful there. And then some nimble boots, which give us increased speed. So now we'll be able to move faster, and we also get another bonus speed on our pants. And then I also managed to get this shredding sword of the executioner, which eliminates enemies when they drop below 15% health. This is incredibly good. With that, I mean, I can walk quite a bit faster now. Like, this is so much quicker. By the way, once you start getting effects like this that increase things, going into your accessibility settings and disabling FOV effects is probably a good idea. Otherwise, it's going to look like you're traveling through space at warp speed. With some good gear obtained, it's time for me to throw this back in, and look at that. Now that we're at this current level, we're going to start generating diamonds from all of the diamond gear. So our mob farm is not only producing gold and iron, it's also going to be producing diamonds. Now, besides upgrading our gear and feeling quite strong, I think today we should focus on increasing our power and also get access to player charging. And there's a reason we need to do this. It's because I want access to some helpful building tools, such as the building gadgets and many others. And these tools are going to require player charging. Okay, but before we actually start, well, sending power to ourselves, we're going to need power. And I think getting started, lava power might be one of the best early options. And that's because getting lava, well, is fairly easy with creating the pack. And that's thanks in part to the hose pulley, in which I am going to need some kelp. So I'm going to risk it. There are sharks in the water. Ah! Okay, never mind. Never mind. That was a bad idea. I need to get to the kelp though, and these sharks will not leave me alone. What? Why are there sharks in the first place? This should not be the thing. Come on now. There's so many sharks too. It's not even like just one of them. There's a whole bunch. I'm gonna have to just take them out, I guess. Like, come on now. Look at that. They're getting frozen by this sword though. That's kind of cool. And they drop shark teeth? What is that? That's pretty neat. Anyways, I just need a bunch of kelp. That's all I really need. And now I can go ahead and start making some dried kelp. We just got to get enough in here to allow me to compress a singular block. Perfect. So there's all of the kelp needed, just like that. And then I am going to need a log that is stripped. So I can go ahead and strip that. And then a single copper. So we'll take a piece of copper. And that is just about everything, I think. Oh, that's right. We do need to head back over to our ship house and in here, spare some copper. So let's grab our hammers so it's cheaper. And yeah, I'll grab a couple of plates. Fantastic. With the hose pulley, we also want a hand crank so that way we can lower it down. And then we're going to need some sort of piping mod. I'm going to use the pipes and also an advanced pipe upgrade. This is going to allow it to transfer at least 1 bucket per tick. But now, how are we going to get the lava out of the nether? Because we need to go to the nether to make it infinite. Well, that's where our iron farm and our current blaze farm is going to come into play. Because with all of those materials and some obsidian, we can actually make some ender tanks. Now, I do want this to be white wool, I think on the top, or potentially orange. And so once we have ourselves some orange wool, we just need to replace the wool that's up here, and it's going to change all of the identifiers that are on the top. And because it's going to be lava, I think having this identified as orange is going to be perfect. So now that we have 2 ender tanks, they are going to be dimensionally locked to each other, meaning that they are going to exist in the same space no matter where they're at. Now, back in the nether, this is where we need to find a massive lava pool. For example, this one right here is going to do just fine. And then I can hit F3 and G to be able to see a chunk boundary. And so this right here is a chunk boundary, and I want this to be roughly in the center so that way it makes chunk loading a little bit easier. So we only have to load 1 chunk. Now that I know this is sort of roughly in the center of this chunk, what I want to do is sort of bridge off a little bit, and then we're going to place down our hose pulley. Now this is where we can also rotate some things, and I think what I want to do is I want the hose section to be facing me, and then we'll use something like a hand crank. And this is where things will get a little bit dangerous. I need to place the hand crank on the side, and we need to start cranking the hand crank. But we need to make sure that we break the block underneath it so that way it can start dropping down. And so we'll see this. Either you're going to have to hold shift in order to get it to go down, or you can just hold right click. It just depends on the angle that this is switched to. And we've got to keep holding this down and right clicking. Make sure you have some food on you until it reaches the bottom. And having your create goggles, by the way, is definitely going to help with this operation, as you're going to see here in a moment. So it didn't take very long, and it has now reached the bottom. You can see it's no longer moving. So what we're going to need to do now is just simply place our tank, place the fluid pipe from the pipes mod, which is very, very cheap, by the way, and then we want to wrench it. And as soon as we wrench this, it is going to say tapping the mantle if it is considered a bottomless supply. And if you have your create goggles on, you'll be able to see that it says bottomless supply here, which is fantastic. And then we can apply this pipe upgrade to make it pull faster out of it. And like I said, this is going to pull, as you can see in the jade up there, transferring 1,000 millibuckets every tick. And that is pretty good. This is where we want to actually go into our claim manager right here. And this chunk is the one that I'm currently in, and we want to claim it and then shift right click to force load this chunk. With that done, we now have infinite lava here, and all we have to do to get this to work is place any sort of container underneath, or we can even pull from it. But this will actually auto deposit. If we flip this, it should automatically send any of the fluid that is in here into the container below. Just as an example, I can place down a fluid drawer underneath here, and you'll notice this is filling that fluid drawer. Now, before we fully start getting into the generators, I do want to make some more obsidian and get the process of obsidian being made. So we are actually going to need obsidian to do this. So I think I have a little bit of obsidian. Perfect. Okay. So to be able to get this to work, we can use something like a block generator. This is fairly simple. And so we'll place a obsidian block down on the bottom and then a block generator on top. And then we can have some flowing lava that flows over here, which is kind of interesting because it's going to consume the flowing lava. And then we place some water right here, and that is going to consume the flowing lava and generate obsidian, in which I can place a barrel right here, and it's automatically going to place it inside. This is beautiful. And by the way, this generator is a bit faster than going this other method by, for example, using an obsidian generator upgrade from functional storage. This is a pretty good one if you actually have access to dripstone, as this can just passively generate it directly inside of the drawer. Speaking of drawers, when I open this, is that a priority system? Wait a minute. Wonder what this means. Is this something related to like the way controllers are handled and like you having access to a priority on a drawer? Interesting. We'll have to play with that maybe in the future. Now, I've been looking at a lot of different ways that we could use lava to generate power, and there's a ton of different mods that I had seen that, well, takes into account lava. For example, Aeronautics. Aeronautics can generate 256 RF per tick from a single lava generator, and I think that is a very valid way to do it. It doesn't seem too bad. 6 seconds it also takes. I mean, and it uses 100 millibuckets. That's not bad. The only issue is the crafting recipe. Simply, I just don't have any nickel. But this might be a good way to generate power down the road. Right now, though, I think I want to dive into excessive utilities. This right here is our extra utilities mod that has been reimagined or remade, and it looks so good. Like, it is such a well done remake. Even having its own documentation built right in, similar to how Create works, utilizing the whole Oracle index. I mean, the same thing that Aeronautics uses. But within all of these items and all of the mechanics that this mod adds, one of the cool ones is going to be the rainbow generator. Yes, the like OG rainbow generator, the one that has like the particle plumes and everything from back in 1.12. That's this one, the one that all other mods has based theirs off of. This is the actual one. And it does have lava support. For example, the magmatic generator, while using some gold to make, isn't too bad. It's going to produce 100 FE per tick. And then if you add redstone to that with a redstone generator, you get a bit more RF from that. And some other crazy things that we could do. For example, we could burn up rotten flesh inside of the death generator. However, I would not use the death generator if I was you. See, most of these generators also come with some sort of effect that happens in the world. And for example, the death generator would give you the doom effect, and after 60 seconds of that effect lasting, when it falls off, well, you also fall off and die. And many of these other ones also have the effects. For example, halitosis, I think, has a chance of spawning endermites, and also frosty has a chance of creating snow pallets and stuff around. Lots of negative things. Some really nice ones, though, is like the Ender Pearl generator. I mean, we could generate a little bit of extra here, but I think right now just sticking with the 100 FE per tick straight from lava is going to be a great idea. We've just got to make some of these magmatic generators. How do we do this? It looks like a little bit of, yeah, I mean, it's not too bad. It's just a chest, some redstone, some iron, and then also some lava buckets, which we now have access to easily, and gold. I think 10 of these is going to be a pretty good amount. This will give us like a solid 1000 RF per tick, and it's only going to use 10 per tick, and we're generating like remember 1000 millibuckets per tick. I'm kind of curious how all of these things are going to sort of work out. So all 10 of them are now in. We've just got to pipe some fluid around. With all of the cabling in, let's go ahead and try this and see. This is going to pipe out at 50 millibuckets per tick. Is it going to work? Wow, that buffer holds 1000 buckets of lava? It does look like it is sort of evenly distributing, which is kind of nice, and honestly going to be just fine. But the fact that this holds, wow, okay, and this holds 1,000,000 FE in each of the generators. So this is essentially like a 10 million FE battery. Wow. All right. Extra utilities coming back and coming back strong. And now if you thought this was strong, these don't just generate 1000 FE per tick. They can actually generate more because there are upgrade slots. We just have to make speed upgrades, but to be able to make speed upgrades, well, they are going to cost some stuff and a resonator. This stuff, by the way, GP, well, that stands for grid power. And this is a power system from within the mod itself. And boy, does this really start to bring back memories, seeing all of these individual items and all of the different things. One of the first ways you can get yourself grid power is by making a manual mill. And by the way, there's an entire quest line built around this, and I've also never seen quests do curvy bits like this. This is so wild. Now, this is going to use a very special stone that is gained by crafting up some slabs, then turning it into chiseled stone bricks. And then from chiseled stone bricks, we can then combine that, and we are going to get this polished stone, which is a really nice looking stone, by the way. But this is actually going to be used in a lot of the grid power related objects. So let's go ahead and make this. This comes from an ender shard, which you get from using a glass cutter on an ender pearl to break it down into 8 pieces. But the basic manual mill is very much what you might think it is. You place it down and you right click on it, and it's going to hold right click for you, generating up to 15 grid power for you. I mean, come on, this is 2026 we're in. We don't have to manually click anything. We have just dire things after all, and we can just make a simple clicker. And a simple clicker should also do the exact same thing. We don't even have to configure it. It is just going to click, and now we're generating 15 grid power because we placed it down. So a little setup like this with a simple clicker on the bottom clicking into the manual mill is very nice, allowing us to kind of get started with this mod. And our next step is going to be crafting the resonator. Yes, another one of these is going to be required. And this is where all of those special items are made. And so I can place this anywhere in the world. It doesn't actually have a range. And when I place this in, it's using 8 of our allotted 15 grid power that we currently have. And I can put these golden pressure plates in, and that's going to make the base for those upgrades I was talking about. But like, funny thing is this is also how you speed up the resonator, is by making these upgrades. But all of this is just going to cost more and more grid power, and there's other ways we can generate that. My favorite way is going to be making water mills. And if we look at the description on this, it generates 4 grid power, but that's per side, meaning that each of these can produce up to 16 grid power. So I'll just throw in some polished stone here, and this is going to start producing all of the materials to make these upgrades. Now I do have those upgrades here, and every upgrade we put is going to cost 1 grid power. You can see, and then also it tells you the total accumulated grid power. But for every upgrade we put, it's going to cost more and more grid power. Perfect. I've made myself some water mills. Let's increase our grid power quite a bit. Now you can place this anywhere so long as it's within a chunk loaded chunk. And this is how we need to think about this. So the water mill is going to go in here. And I like to build these out as if it was sort of the way you would plant sugarcane, for example. So this is going to maximize all sides with water and having flowing water attached to it. So I can start the water flow all the way over here, and this should technically reach all sides with a single flowing source, just like this. And so this is in total producing 16 plus 16 plus our other that we have over here. And you can see now we have a total of 47 grid power. Now I know our primary focus is power today, but we can also make the chicken ring. Like, this is kind of cool. I think this gives us like chicken falling, which will prevent fall damage just passively on us. We need to use a golden lasso, pick up a chicken. Thankfully I have all these chicken eggs, so like the chances of us spawning in another chicken to go right back on that seat, perfect, is good to go. And then I will use this to make the chicken ring. Yeah, as odd as that may sound, this ring is going to use just like 1 grid power. It goes in the ring slot, and whenever we fall, we can hold space to glide. And then we have like a amount of grid, I guess, power that is like built up over time that protects us. That's cool. I mean, this would help in fall damage scenarios. So we just hold space anytime right before we get to the ground. Now back to increasing our power, because I want to put at least 1 upgrade in all of our machines. And what this is basically saying is for each upgrade, it is going to run an additional time every tick, which means that we run 100 FE per tick. If I put 1 in here, it'll now run 200 FE per tick. If 3, it's going to run 300. It's going to keep going up and doing an extra operation every upgrade. That's pretty cool. And we can only put up to 4 of these regular upgrades, but there are higher tier upgrades that we can get down the road that we can put more of together. And with this, I've barely scratched the surface of excessive utilities. There's just so much more you can do. So many cool things like silk touch tools. I mean, there's a trowel that you can make that acts as a silk touch shovel. It's wild. After all of this is done, my goodness, putting 1 upgrade in each of these, that is already going to generate over 200 FE, which is 2,000 FE per tick we are now generating from these. So here's the thing. Now that we have power, we need to get it to us and to anything else in our base. And while excessive utilities does have a way of doing this that we can get into down the road, I still think one of the best network power management mods is still Flux Networks. And it's still one of the best things to get into early game if you can, especially if you have a mob farm and you have the ender pearls and redstone to do this. And my reasoning for this is simply prioritizing power networks. Of course, I would love to hear from you down in the comments below. What power provider is your favorite? Now, to get my first bit of flux dust, I am going to drop all of my redstone down. We need to be at our bedrock level, place the obsidian, and then punch it. And then in doing so, this is how we get our first bit. After this, we will no longer need to go down to bedrock. But now you can see where everything's coming full circle. For example, all of the obsidian that is required in this, we ended up getting all of the obsidian production done, and that did use lava. We got our power that we're going to need, and everything is just really starting to blend together now. Once we have enough materials to make a flux block, then we can actually use the flux block in an extractor technically to generate an infinite amount of these things. But we'll get to extractors in another episode because as of right now, we just are missing like a couple of ingredients for them. One of the first blocks we're going to need to make is a flux plug. With our flux plug, this is how you receive power into a network. And we can open this up after placing it and go to create new network. And I'm going to rename mine main as I always do. And then I'm going to select any color. Green for right now usually works for a main network. And if you're playing on a server, you can set this to private or encrypted if you want to share it with your friends. I like to just set it to public so that way if I share this world download later on, you guys will be able to access it. Once we're done, I just click this and now we have our main network started. In that menu, there's some interesting configurations. You can see right here, priority being a big one, but also power transfer limit. On our inputs, we typically don't want to limit how much power we're allowing into the system, so I usually click the bypass limit button, and this just eliminates this. Now for power cables, I think I want to use just some regular basic power cables from Mechanism to send the power around. This is because this is also going to create a storage buffer, and the more cables that you have on a network, the better overall your cables are, which is kind of cool with Mechanism. And that's pretty neat. It looks like these also automatically push the power directly into the cable, so you don't even need to go into the cable and configure anything. But with our power fired up and we now have access to this power, well, we can make another thing and we can make sure that our network over here always stays running. To do that, I'll craft a point, and a point is how we're going to send power. So I can actually get rid of our Stirling generator now and place this down here instead and select our network. And now we can see how much power is also being drawn from our network and is keeping this powered. It looks like we're just passively using 20 FE per tick. But just when you thought we were done, no, I need player charging. So another thing that we can make from this mod, which is going to use our Flux blocks, is going to be a good old-fashioned flux controller. Yes. So we can place this down pretty much anywhere, but keep in mind, this is the hub for which all of our power network is managed. And so we can go into this, select the network that we want it to be listed under, and then go to wireless charging, in which we can select the slots that we actively want to charge, and then hit apply, and then turn it on. And with this turned on, this is drawing power from our main system here, which is all of these lava generators, and will power anything that needs power in my inventory, which means it's time that I can craft the building gadget. And in my hand, this should start charging. I say should because we have to actually enable and then hit apply. And then once done, now you can see it charged and very quickly. And all of these tools are incredibly useful. The exchanging gadget, fantastic. The cut paste gadget, absolutely absurd in what it can do. Basically, it's like a portable cardboard box from Mechanism, but it can pick up like your whole base. And then how can I forget the copy paste gadget, allowing you to select areas that you've already built and rebuild those areas. Now that I have something like the building gadgets, for example, I can do a lot of really cool things. If you hold G, you can open up this menu, and build to me is the one that I really prefer. And it allows me to just simply build to me. This just makes building so much faster, allowing my ideas to actually be realized. This is perfect. So I actually want to start extending the base out a little bit, and this is going to give us a little bit of a structure and an idea of how this is going to work. For example, this is sort of rounded out on the side, so what I want is for this sort of section right here to be expanded out as a square. And this is more or less going to become like the central hub, like the central square area. And I think right at about this tree is pretty good, and I'm just going to square this all the way up to here. to this sidewall. This right here is why building gadgets is so powerful. Like I'm setting up supports and I would have to go down and branch all of these. Needing some sort of flight would make this a lot easier and stuff like this, but I can do this though with minimal need for anything like that and allowing me to just like freely build. And already I have like this a massive dock sort of supported area already overhanging. With the dock somewhat in place, I do want to start figuring out how to make this look a little bit nicer. So I can place down some of my blocks that I want to build with over here, and this is where we can use the exchanging gadget. And I can set this range to 1 or what have you. If you expand it up a little bit, you can set a lot larger of a range. And just start sort of setting all of these blocks, sort of exchanging them here. And then what I want to do is put this into a single block mode. And this is where I can actually start to sort of paint. And I really do call the exchanging gadget like a paintbrush, because it really just lets me texture and replace a lot of these things around. And if we were to silk touch this, we would actually get back the silk touch blocks. And with all of this building planned, I did look even deeper into the excessive utilities. And something keeps telling me that I really liked the squid ring back in the day. And I don't remember exactly why. I think it's because it acted sort of like a pseudo jetpack, if I remember correctly, instead of like this slow glide, which this slow glide is really nice. And it's not too much more expensive to just upgrade this to the next tier ring. All we need is the chicken wing ring, and we need to lasso up a squid instead of a chicken. I know there's sharks down here in this infested water, but do the sharks mess with you if you're on a boat? Ow, okay, so I think they can. Which definitely makes sense. It is after me. I just need to find a squid so I can lasso it up. Aha, and that didn't take too long. There it is. Definitely some squid down here along with some stingray, but the stingray should be friendly. I'll just pick you up. You're going to help me fly. Now, the flying squid reference definitely is reference to something that would happen when the world would lag back, you know, like in 112 era or prior, where you would just start seeing squids floating through the sky, and you were like, huh, that's strange. And then the next thing you know, your game would crash. Or you finally realize that your TPS was super low. But here we go. We have the ring. We can pull everything we need in here to make this. And this says it's going to use 16 grid power to function. So by having it equipped, 16 grid power, it does have to charge up, which I am noticing. And as soon as that's charged up, we can now see while I am using it, it'll do it. And let's take a look. If I take the bunny hoppers off, okay, so does it definitely acts like a jetpack. Oh yeah, that is exactly kind of what it is. It's literally like an unlimited sort of jetpack. That's kind of cool. It's very slow, but I mean, you just need it to get to destinations, so it doesn't have to be fast or anything. And while active, you can't see, but while I'm actively using it, it is using 16 of my allotted grid power. Interesting. Okay, this is not bad. Like, I mean, I can't hold like shift or anything, but I can basically tap spacebar, and it allows me to hover, so that way I could at least get down to an area, place a block, and then stand on said block. And as far as an early source of like movement, that's pretty good. I mean, all I needed was like an ender pearl, some chickens, a squid, like a gold. Like that's basically it. Tell you, the excessive utilities and extra utilities basically being back. Oh my goodness. A lot of memories are flooding back to me, and I'm sure they're flooding back to you. And if you've made it this far in the video, definitely let me know down in the comments below, what is your favorite part of extra utilities? What was the thing that you missed the most with it being gone all these years? Of course, let me know down in the comments section below. And guys, if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and give this video a huge thumbs up. And now, without further ado, it's time for me to say thanks to the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks is going to go out to Draspawn. Thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting my content in one of the best ways possible. I feel like we got a lot done today, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. And as always, thanks for watching.